I've been filming overseas for a long time now, since my very first documentary was shot in the Philippines. But even though I've lived abroad for the better part of the last decade, I still know the stigma of people living in their cars. I've always thought that to be a reasonable member of society, you needed a high-paying job, a nice car, and a big sprawling house. Now, unfortunately, this ideology has been drip-fed to the American public since the comeback of the Great Depression. So why is it that people are building homes on 8 by 16-foot trailers and living in houses with less than 300 square feet? Why are they proudly sleeping in school buses that they bought at an auction for $5 and built out to be a glamorized mobile home? And we've all seen tiny home shows on HGTV, the DIY Network. There's literally thousands of YouTube channels popping up talking about van life. Hashtags are popping up all across the social media spectrum for schoolie life, nomad life, road life, and on and on. There's a revolution happening on America's highways, and it's not just a couple of hippies throwing a mattress in a VW bus and heading down to Baja. It's older couples using their retirement to travel around and see the US. It's new families escaping high rent and reverse mortgages. It's young adults trying different options than college. It's college grads looking to avoid debt or to pay it down. And this is all happening right under our noses. People are saying, to hell with the risk, and they're shunning the reputation. They're taking control of their 20s or their 70s or every decade in between. And they're challenging the stigma that says you have to be destitute to live in your vehicle. But that's not really the whole story. There are towns in America that are raking in gobs and gobs of money, catering to the ebb and flow of the nomadic revolution. Artists are building out mobile studios, philanthropic couples are driving around to cities and feeding the homeless. Everyone from hairstylists to chiropractic and massage professionals to custom tailors are using box trucks and step vans to launch mobile businesses. Cities and municipalities from all over the US are finding new and inventive revenue streams from the Tiny Life movement. But that's not the whole story either. There's healing going on, there's community building, there's partying, there's volunteering, there's crafting communities, there's meetups, there's movie nights, there's political activism, and basically everything else you can imagine. And then there are those opposing the movement, fighting it through legislation and ordinances, discouraging the lifestyle. And this film distills the entire story from the insider's perspective, shot entirely from my own custom-built, off-grid, tiny house on wheels. In my documentaries, I entrench myself in the content. I become part of the scene. I participate in the subject matter. So I decided to take a full year and live in an off-grid tiny house full-time to document my experiences. I wanted to crunch the numbers and see if an average person on a modest budget and a basic plan could actually sustain themselves living in a nomadic or semi-nomadic lifestyle. About 6 months into the trip, I picked up my dad and we drove all the way across the states. We visited parks all over the Southwest. We literally lived the experience of the nomadic life for several months. We saw some epic vistas. We talked to other nomads that were already on the road. It was just an amazing experience. And after all of that, my dad went home and I began the production phase for the bulk of the documentary. And I've already got tons of footage, podcasts with van lifers and bus lifers. I've got interviews with schoolie builders, and I've got aerial footage from the national parks and the state parks and BLM land and forestry service land, you name it. I've got amazing and diverse footage from all over the Southwest. I even visited events like Schoolie Palooza and the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, and I've got slated plans to visit other events like Descend on Bend and Fiesta Island in California. And I've got just enough footage that at this point I need to start interviewing policymakers opposing the movement, politicians of nomadic boom towns, managers of big box stores like Walmart and Home Depot that provide overnight stays to rubber tramps. And of course I need to get interviews with parks and recreation officials on their take of the swarm of new vehicles showing up at their doorstep. Unfortunately, this is the part of the film that is going to cost the most money. Up until this point, I've spent less than $10,000 all in, but there's going to be some significant costs from here on out to get this thing finalized and released. And that's where you come in. Now, I don't say this in the perks, but for every single donation, I'm going to give you a copy of the film. All you have to do is get in contact with me, indicate your donation, and I'll make sure that you're included on the list of releases.
Second to that, all donations of $20 or more will get an extended cut of the film. This is the supporter level perk.
Now, this is going to happen regardless of any distribution delays. When the film's done, you get a copy, simple as that.
As a huge perk of all donations of $40, get a special edition of the film where all the YouTubers interviewed in the production will say a special thank you in the credits.
This includes people like Jamie from the Van Build and the Enigmatic Nomadics, Jordan and Kaylee from the Nomadic Movement, Dean from the Schoolie. The list goes on. There's tons of really cool, well-known YouTubers that have got in excess of several 100,000 followers across the social media spectrum.
That's the enthusiast level. The fan level at $60, get an extended cut plus a full color downloadable PDF of all of the behind the scenes pictures, maps, production notes, and all that other stuff. $80, which is the insider perk, gets you all of the above, plus an additional download of the long play extended scenes, aerial photos, videos of the grounds, and sneaky drone flights into the parks. Donations of $100 or more, which is the backer perk, get all the above, plus all the podcasts that I recorded with all the nomads throughout the entire trip, which is very, very cool. These people are doing great things, and that's what we talk about.
All the nomads that'll be appearing on the documentary before iTunes lists them for sale.
The next one up is $120, and that's the Die Hard perk. These get all the above, plus 3 seasons of Travel Geek films. That's 24 episodes, plus extras. All the Travel Geek films that currently exist in commercial form. The next one up from that is the co-producer perk, and that's $150. This gets your name and or business listed in the credits of the film as a co-producer. And the last one, in my opinion, the best one of all, is the $200 star perk. Now this gets you an exclusive interview in the film. You can say whatever you want. Do you love the movement? Do you hate the movement? Do you not believe it's happening? Do you just want to chime in and get a conversation started?
You get to say whatever you want and it gets on the film. That's it. Super easy. Now this is not a studio-funded film, okay, but that's good news because that means this is your opportunity to be a part of the newest movement to hit America. It's a film documenting the American dream. It's a true underdog story about citizens opposing the Goliath U.S. government and exploring the boundaries of freedom. So show your support. Come be a part of it.